Ladies and gentlemen, friends, family, enemies, all welcome in. We got ZP on the left today, DDK on the right. I'm right smack dab in the middle of this show, and we have the night shift coming your way, which means that we're watching Deadlock and ZP. We're going to be watching a lot of it. We got to start the show, though, with an update on where we're at in the world of Deadlock. Give me the news. What's the meta picks? What are we liking right now? What have you learned from your games?
What I've learned coming in here is that it's going to be a day for Rising from the Dead. Victor has been coming in big behind the scenes, going up and up on the draft priority list. More Victor, still the same amount of Infernus, and a lot more Doorman is, I think, where we're heading to today, at least on the EU side of things.
Victor Doorman, did not think we'd be saying that today, DDK. What are you fired up to see as we always kick things off with EU?
I'm fired up to see some frags. I'm also here for the pocket jokes. I like the shenanigans. That's actually really why I'm here. I don't actually care about Deadlock. The game sucks, but Puckett, oh my god, I just love being in the box next to you. In fact, normally you'd be on the far left, but I requested to have you next to me in the middle.
I feel warmer. I don't know if it's the Cali sun. Something's glowing inside of me right now. Before we get too into the weeds on that, let's talk about the format for the night, because as we mentioned, it's EU first, then NA, and this weekend we've got some huge prize pools up for grabs. We'll tell you about that in just a moment. But focusing in on tonight, Abraham's Lotos taking on Buff Enjoyers, who of course are reigning champions. They'll wait to play the winner of our challenger matchup. Then NA features Melee Creeps, the Unks, a new squad, and Sneaky Golem. ZP, who are the Unks?
Oh, the Unks, that'd be Deathy's team put together for the Trolley tournament happening this very weekend, where, by the way, signups close tonight for NA at midnight. Make sure you get your sign up in if you're looking to play. But yeah, we got Deathy's return, the competitive Deadlock here tonight, along with some familiar names that maybe you haven't seen in a while in comp. Players like Gibbs and Wander are going to be showing up too. And, while on paper Melee Creeps may have the edge, the Unks, there's enough talent there to surprise.
DDK looking clean today. Damn, says LP47. You're not wrong, LP. Let's take a look here at what we've got in store beyond the format. ZP mentioned there's a big tournament coming up. And before we mention the Patreons, let's just jump into it, DDK. Trolley has our back, Deadlock community. They are investing heavier than any other brand has up to this point. Intel has been here consistently, but if you're looking for a single prize pool, Trolley is bringing 10K to North America and 10K to Europe. What should the people at home know, Dan?
Well, this is going to be the competition of all competitions as far as Deadlock is concerned. We haven't seen anything this sizable, and we are, of course, happy to be able to treat both regions, both North America and Europe, getting some love here. So there's going to be a lot of teams in contention. And I got to say, Puckett, we've been around, and ZP, we've all been around esports for a really long time. And in the early days, it's tournaments like this that are accessible to everybody, where everyone can make a team, everyone can make a run, that I think are truly special. And we're kind of always will be referring back to, we'll be thinking nostalgically on tournaments like this, in years to come. So super excited to be a part of this, and for Trolley to bring the love to Deadlock in the early phases before even in beta.
It's kind of awesome as well. If you think back to the early days of League of Legends, these open tournaments, you would play future legends in that title. This could be your opportunity to play the best of the best, to touch Deadlock. ZP, how do I get in on it, though? Because NA is up against the gun. You got to get involved right now. How long do I have? Where do I go?
Yeah, we got the sign up links in chat. There's a few helpful commands in there. I think it may be !Trolley, but something along those lines. It'll get you over to the challenge website where we're doing all the signups. And yeah, those signups for NA close tonight because we got to do seeding. We got to let people know what their matchups are tomorrow. And then the qualifier day goes on Friday. And then all the broadcasts begin starting on Saturday. Group stage play into the final playoffs on Sunday. It's going to be a great weekend of Deadlock.
Axiot Effect wants to know, is Average Jonas going to be playing in the tournament? DDK, do you think we can play with him? You think he'd let us be in his five stack?
Have you spied his name, ZP? I know you're kind of doing all the player stuff. Have you seen his name about?
I haven't looked.
Do we have any lineups incoming?
I haven't looked closely at the EU end because I have been swamped making sure NA runs smoothly here this weekend. But I can take a look, see if Jonas has snuck on in. Look, it would make sense. I mean, we got Deathy in for NA, so why wouldn't Jonas hop on in for EU?
Biggest streamers might as well collect some of the $20,000 prize pool brought to you by Trolley. Big thanks to them. But it's not just the big brands that we got to show love to. We got to show love to the OG supporters of the Night Shift. This was before there was any prize pool. You guys were contributing, and the Patreons have backed our people behind the scenes and in front of the camera since day number one. ZP, tell me about the Patreons. We started with what, a $2 minimum, but most people have been chiming in with the $5 Night Shift resident roll.
Yeah, and this is just another way of showing support to the program, helping us keep the shows running and going on from there. And, a lot of people, we kind of did a question, is like going, hey, what extra content would you like for the Patreon? And a lot of people just simply responded with, hey, we're just happy to support the show. But of course, one thing you do get right here and now, if you are a member of the Patreon, is on the post show, we do the graveyard shift where we grab a member of the community, stay for a little bit longer, and talk Deadlock in the scene. We've had some really, really good conversations. Also, intermittently, we do fun things, like we did an impromptu game night where we might be doing another one down the line. Just looking for ways to give back, and also you get your name on broadcast, as you see right here.
Facts, our $100 supporter, a Night Shift executive. Last week, we had enjoyed dropping over 100 subs on the channel. The support has been through the roof. Thank you all, no matter where you're at, whether it's Twitch, TikTok, or YouTube. We love having you here on the Night Shift. With all the plugs done, let's talk about the game, shall we? Last week, our pick Prio featured some big returns as some regulars were back into the mix. Some of the names we had seen quite frequently are starting to disappear, and ZP, you expect this meta to continue changing. Before we get into Shift 10, though, what did we learn in Shift number 9, DDK?
Well, we learned that things started to change in terms of priority, as we can kind of see here. Obviously, Haze actually had been picked quite a lot, kind of shifting back down. And this is something I think in EU was more maybe popular than we saw in North America. And Billy also, I think, losing some priority. Ivy as well, I think, was one of the bigger ones for me, where we didn't see near as much Ivy, ZP.
No, and Ivy got hit with the nerf, not quite as attractive as a gun carry, but also people in terms of carries realized actually Infernus pretty good. Let's keep picking the fire guy. Also, the most ridiculous thing to me is that Kelvin was pretty high up over and over again over the last few weeks, but last week was the first week that Kelvin was full on perma banned, and even going back. Yeah, going back over the last year, it's really rare to see a hero hit such a level of power that every team is deciding we are going to ban him if we are the second pick because we don't want to deal with the Kelvin under any circumstances. It's actually kind of unprecedented, and if you're a Kelvin player, usually means nerfs may be coming.
Want to give a shout out to our regulars in the chat. You know it, you love it. The priorities will continue. We'll post them every single week. Meg said I look like Pitbull. We had Sketchy saying I look like a white rapper for a Christian group. What do you think ZP looks like, though? I'm saying an actor in Hollywood. Damn, this guy's cleaned up today. Here we go. We got to talk about our teams, though, DDK, and I would love to start with our EU rosters today. Taking on the Abrahams is Lotos, and Abrahams, of course, have been making it to the finals over and over again. Lotos has been trying to get in their way. This week, they bring in a new face. What are you excited to see from the squad this week, Dan?
I think so. Lotos, for me, they've characteristically always brought themselves into a draft with a plan, and sometimes those plans can be kind of crazy. But the thing is that there's always a plan, a strategy that you can get to see unfold on the server, and you can often see that they have the skill to actually execute and like hold into the early game, into the mid game, and actually try to manage to pull off what they intended. So oftentimes we see, for example, like heavy use of like Mo and just like really heavy invades and very harass-based approaches to the game in their drafts. But week to week it does tend to change. So for me, Lotos, even though they're not a team that we usually see we never see in the finals, they're always super entertaining to watch because they really change the dynamics of how the game is played, or at least how we're used to seeing it played here at Night Shift.
I want to give a big shout out to Enjoy dropping another 10 gifted. We had 99 lives matching it with a 10 gifted, which means I could potentially afford a gold chain to go with the gold rim glasses, ladies and gentlemen. We got to talk about the competition on the night, though. The Abrahams come in with stiffer squad than ever before. ABL is out for revenge. There has been some bad blood at the end of game, some trash talk. ZP, does ABL get his revenge tonight? And if so, what character is he playing?
It's a possibility, and I mean, the key for ABL is that ABL is pretty darn versatile. I think there's a world where maybe we see ABL Yamato coming back into play tonight, as Yamato, I think, has been climbing back up in EU priority. But, you know, for Abrahams, I feel like this next period of 2 weeks is where they're really going to have to dig deep and try and find another level, because there is a tradition right now in EU Deadlock where anytime there's a big tournament that comes around, Buff Enjoyers ends up winning it, and no one has really been able to stop them in the bigger prize pool tournaments, where even though Buff Enjoyers will get taken the task here on Night Shift or other smaller scale tournaments, we're still looking for the EU team to dethrone Buff Enjoyers when it comes to these bigger prize pool tournaments. So, you know, for Abrahams, they are the top candidate to potentially upset that streak for Buff Enjoyers in the coming weeks.
They are the threat. Can they get it done, though, is the question. Their bans have been questionable. We'll see what's happening here, DDK. As we jump into the first game, we got to remind people that we do it differently here on Project Night Shift. We don't just play 6-on-6 or 5v5. Sometimes we get down and dirty with a little Mo and Krill 1v1.
Oh, yeah. But you'll also notice that the Mo and Krill, they've cleaned up for this act as well. Woo. And we got our custom Night Shift skins on there. So, okay, who's who? That's the first question. All right. So, okay, Together's on the orange. Okay, that's a good start. And what? God, they're just going at it. This is going to be a quick one. No messing around. Pocket, we don't like to waste
it's coming down to the haymakers. Nice parry finish. Well done. Lotos is going to have the advantage. Now, you said last week that the second team to ban basically had to waste it on Kelvin every single time. So this is kind of a big week opportunity for Lotos. They're coming out of the gates with the first ban. What do they do here, ZP? What's the threat outside of Kelvin?
Outside of Kelvin, I mean, I think this is where you go to idea of like maybe you take out something like an Infernus, right? Where Infernus has very often been picked super early if you're in the first two picks here. But okay, this is interesting for Lotos. They could have picked the Kelvin if Abrahams didn't ban it, but they decide they don't want Abrahams to get it under any circumstances, but they also signaled they had no intention of playing it. So the first pick team first banning Kelvin is a little unconventional at the moment.
And maybe they missed the trick. We'll see what Abrahams get to choose, though. Victor comes out. So this ZP was saying off camera, he's like trying to give me the intel. He's like, Dan, everyone's playing Victor right now. Victor's coming up huge at the moment. So immediate ban is preventing Lotos for being able to first pick that.
Can you clarify the lore? Is Victor any kind of vampire? Or is he just simply like a zombie who's come back to life?
I believe he's an homage to Frankenstein. You're kind of getting a lot of the old school horror movie
like a skinny
tropes. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and in fact, I think I forget. I think like the prototype. There's still like a character in game that calls Victor Frank. I think it's Hayes in regards to it. So it kind of goes the idea is that in development may have been called Frank or something along those lines, because those voice lines are still in and around. But Lotos, they go with the first pick, Mina. The only thing about this is that it gives up Paradox and it probably gives up Infernus in turn. So you are giving up a lot of power if you secure the Mina first.
Paradox 100% pick ban rate. They have been involved 42% of the time in our first rounds. Dan, what is it about this character? Why does everyone want Paradox on their team, and what do you pair with it?
I think it's because you have to look at the history too. Holiday was usually in place of Paradox in terms of priority for that role. Paradox is very consistent, gun damage, and has insane initiation. Very safe way to kind of get picks at any stage of the game, and has a lot of utility to provide support for for just setup essentially. So synergizes super well, and we get Infernus there as the next pick, CP, which has been a pretty high value carry of late.
Yeah, and I mean, in response, you go with the Pocket, where Pocket has also been in the top 3 pretty reliably. But once you get past this is where it starts getting a little bit more interesting. Smart Money would say maybe it's going to be a Doorman coming in. Doorman has been super highly prioritized recently in some of the EU scrims that we're aware of. And if not that, then maybe you start wondering about things like Calico, But Yamato getting picked early, this is a little bit interesting. And, it's kind of mentioned Yamato has been on the rise and now rising even further.
Yeah. YouTube is over there arguing how to pronounce Yamato. Is it Yamato? Is it Yamato? Yamato. Pocket Yamato, and most importantly, Mina, who I think Dan should cosplay as for our Halloween show. What do you think, Dan? You down to do high socks?
Well, the problem is I already committed to something else, so.
Oh, okay.
So too bad.
We'd have to crowdfund a Mina costume, is what I'm hearing here, chat. Let's get back to the draft as Calico, the female with the cats, is back in action. What's her lore, ZP? Like she just turns into a cat and moves faster or harder to hit? What's her deal?
I haven't looked at the lore page in game for Calico's full backstory, but I can say on the gameplay brass tacks that Calico's just gotten buff after buff in recent times and just is really, really strong at applying mobile map pressure here at the moment, and does so in a pretty profound way in the early to mid game. Really hard to pin down, really good at overly diving, and as a result, all these buffs have stacked up to the point where EU has finally said, "Yeah, actually, we're totally fine prioritizing Calico early in the draft."
So Together isn't going to be playing Shiv. It looks like they're getting rid of the big dogs. What's happening here, DDK?
Yeah, it's interesting. Shiv actually rose in priority. We didn't talk about this outside of not even being paired with Kelvin as a frontliner. And Yamato, Pocket, Mina, these are a lot of heavy damage heroes here. And I think that Lotos would definitely need to look for a frontliner. But at this point, what do you have left? Mo, Billy is kind of all that's left. So what's been higher on the priority would be Abrams, Victor, and Shiv, all of which have been banned. Interestingly, Abrahams is going to go Doorman, which I think has risen in priority a lot, which will give Lotos their kind of pick of that frontliner here, I would expect.
It's about to get sticky.
But okay, Viscous, that's also a pretty strong pickup. Nice.
We love the sticky call out.
Yeah, as I'm looking at here, I'm expecting Paige to come in here in the next few picks. Paige has really risen in prio. People have come to sort of appreciate what she's bringing in the laning phase, have gotten better about doing laning phase with her, and also just kind of realizing, wait, her kit is generally pretty strong. Rallying charge is actually super good. And okay, Lotos, they pick up the holiday later in the draft. They want at least something for playmaking power because they miss on Paradox. But in return, I expect now Abrahams is going to pick up, I would say it's going to be Paige +1. It could even be a Drifter.
I was going to say, so walk me through this. Most time I see two frontliners, right? Lotos has Yamato as a frontliner. What do we have for Abrahams?
Yeah, for Abrahams right now, Calico's kind of a quasi frontliner / pressure. She's a little bit less frontliner now than she used to be. In theory, they could pick up something that's a little bit more frontline here, but also we have gone through phases in Deadlock where teams just kind of go, nope, don't need it. You still got a Billy here on board, but from everything I've been hearing is that with the buff to rebuttal, teams have just been not valuing Billy and Abrams as much just because of the melee resistance and ability to get parries. But the Mo and Krill comes out, so it is a little bit more frontline, but it's very skirmishy, especially in the early and mid game.
Mirage is locked in. Mo and Krill comes through. Final pick, Dan. What do you expect?
Yeah, I think it does feel like a Billy, but as CP said, maybe there's arguments to go away from that. And Lotos have never been afraid to not be conventional here. And getting Ivy's, who we talked about, has definitely lost pick priority, but previously was a first pick. Obviously, something else coming in, but Ivy is still a strong hero that can really, play very strong into the late game as well. So I don't know, it's gonna be interesting here. I'm definitely feeling Abrahams. I feel like they came up a little bit better, but I definitely feel like there's a lot of potential here for Lotos. I think especially with Viscous, Yamato, Pocket, Mina, there's a lot of capacity for good late game scaling, I think, for both teams.
Yeah, as I look at here, I think the problem I have for Lotus is that they're very heavily invested in having the Yamato having a really good game, whereas by comparison, there's
you gotta win early, right?
Yeah, but also they're not necessarily massively better early in this situation either, whereas Abrahams has some win conditions that are horrifying. A well-farmed Infernus right now can easily take over the game, and you have Mirage who, while a little bit weaker in carry potential, is also kind of right up there. But once ultimates come online, the pressure you're going to be able to have between Paradox and Mo is pretty unreal, especially with Calico. So to me, the flow for Abrahams early in the mid-game to getting farm into Infernus and Doorman, Infernus and Mirage is actually really quite nice.
True or false, DDK? Infernus was designed after the great Michael Jackson.
I respect the attempt there, the impression. I
couldn't get high enough.
You know what?
No.
I can see it. I can certainly see it. But you know, I got to say, you know, the thing that strikes me the most about these rosters is that the setup for Abraham seems stronger. You know, between Paradox, Doorman, Emo, and Krill, I feel like you have a lot more tools than for Lotos, where I feel like you're super reliant on Holiday to really facilitate or set up, you know, into the mid game. So ZP, for me, I feel like that's where the game truly is, you know, giving Lotos a big
I'll let you guys
disadvantage.
talk about the nerd stuff over the game. In the meantime, Milk God 6000 says DDK equals sexiest caster. Thank you, Milk God 6000, for being over on youtube.com/@Deadlock Night Shift. We're jumping into shift number 10. DDK, ZP on the mic for your commentary. And of course, we have been live now with Deadlock for over a year. 2 different brands. It's the same old crew behind the scenes and in front of the camera for the most part. You guys let me join for the last 9 episodes. ZP, what is the coolest part of your job right now? Because every week it is becoming more complicated.
I mean, the coolest part is just seeing how things change every week, where, you know, being around in esports for a long period of time, I've covered a bunch of games where things just don't change that often. You get stuck in a meta for a long time. You cannot do a patch in Deadlock and still get a completely different meta the next week. And to me, that's just awesome.
Challenge for DDK, fit a Yo My Toe and instead of Yamato. It's time to game Abraham's Lotos. Who's moving on to the championship match? Only one can do it. CB, take it away.
All right, Dan, we're heading on into it, and we'll see what's on board here for both of these teams. Realistically, I think for Lotos, I mean, there's ways just on mechanical skill they can have a good laning phase and go from there, but I think it's just the phase that's going to come in when ults come into play, where the pressure against Lotos is going to be unreal. I'm kind of looking at here and thinking that, you know, your Mina lane actually has to go wild and, you know, get a bit ahead, and, you know, they need at least one of these lanes to go wild.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can make that happen. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I do feel like Lotos generally, I've never really felt like I've seen them come out of a draft phase without a plan that they can execute that looks like it's somewhat put together. But I do agree. I feel like Abraham's did come out the better in sort of all of the categories for the most part. And I'm curious what Quit's going to be able to do on the pocket. I think that's going to be, you know, pretty key. Obviously, Rayash on the Holiday also quite key, having a good game in terms of just the setup to enable Lotos to get off to a good start. But we'll have to see. In terms of these lanes, ZP, you know, what's the best case for Lotos, you know, just off of a quick glance?
Actually, as I look at it, I do like the viscous pocket lane. The burst damage that you're going to be getting there is a little bit ridiculous. And as good as Calico is in the early game nowadays, I mean, there is a world where you're just able to burst down the Calico in the wrong spot and go from there. Get Mo low enough that Mo doesn't feel comfortable enough to go in for Scorns. I mean, even going for Scorn is like kind of tricky when you have a pocket that can dive in the briefcase and potentially get puddle punched at the same time. So I kind of do like the left lane right now for Lotos.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how they manage to play it off. You know, Calico on that lane as well as the Mo is somewhat of a scary prospect, both pretty beefy and difficult to deal with on a lane typically. But yeah, like you say, that burst damage should be good to deal with it. Calico has definitely been, if you haven't been around for a couple of weeks, like CP said, the game changes quite rapidly. Calico's really come back into full force with some of the changes that have come about. And you know, we heard, I believe it was Hydration on the winner's interview last week. He actually picked Calico as sort of the no-brain pick. If you want to just carry right now in your matchmaking games, just pick Calico was his answer.
Yeah, I mean, Calico's just kind of statted in a ridiculous fashion at the moment. Also, when I look at lanes, I kind of feel like the Mina Ivy lane is kind of in a rough spot. There's more outright pressure that's going to be coming in from Mirage Paradox here, and I don't know if Ivy's going to be able to necessarily help Mina apply it. Like you're seeing right now in terms of the poke, that Mina's gotten poked down so much that being aggressive with love bites and getting in on a rake is like easier said than done. And realistically, she's just getting massively pressured and down here, Dan. Can't get away.
Yeah, that's quite painful there. Ivy coming on through, but Sai is really weak as well. And yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. I mean, Ivy has, in theory, such good wave clear, but the pressure game here is really, really nice. And you got that Mystic Regeneration on Mirage, on Saf very quickly. And that should always be your first item, because every time you pop the Jin mark, you can like put it on 2 heroes, and then suddenly you're getting really crazy sustain on the lane. It's actually so strong. So Yeah, looking really good there for Abrahams in that mid lane.
You know, in terms of pressure, Lotos does have a reasonable amount of burst on the right side between the Amato Holiday. I think, like, you know, people may have overreacted a bit to the Holiday nerfs that, you know, happened a while back. I think Holiday is still pretty scary in lane, especially if you have, like, any semblance of barrel accuracy, which players at this level all are going to have. So, the problem for Lotos, though, is that once ultimates come to play, and once the first Guardian or two goes down, the rotations and surviving the rotations that Abrahams is going to be able to do, that's going to be where things get, I think, quite difficult for Lotos.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's going to be very, very tough. So, okay, we did get some pushing from the Calico Mo of Abrahams here. We saw up until this point, Quilts and Coffeen on the pocket, Viscous be doing quite a good job in creating that pressure, but now suddenly they're a little bit lower. And that Tanky, there's a dive coming on through, looking for the finish together. Is he going to be able to find this into the burrow? And look how low this Guardian is already. This is a 4.5 minute Guardian take there for Pyro. That's actually such a big win there early for Lotos. And that's going to unlock Yamato and Holiday.
Yeah, I think what's likely to happen there is that Rayake is going to take the opportunity to go middle soon, short things up a little bit. But also, as we look at this Calico lane, the fact that ABL forced Pocket to buy extra regen early really shows like the amount of pressure that's been coming in. ABL again gets the parry on the Guardian, dives in, finds Coffin, and may not be stopping there.
Yeah, huge pressure. Trying to keep into the action here, Quilts. But you can start to see now that that tower's going to go down pretty fast for Abrahams, and that's going to be an important equalizer given how fast Abrahams lost their own Guardian on the right side lane. So far, you know, in this early game, it feels somewhat even, and I mean, it's going to be super fun to see the initiation dynamics as now some of these heroes will be unlocked to move around the map a little bit more, ZP, because that's where Lotos kind of need to do a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, also the swap here where Holiday basically wins right lane for Lotos and immediately becomes the, okay, let's shore up mid, swaps with Ivy, who, you know, gets a bit of a breather. Also, taking a look at the build coming out here for Holiday, you know, it's a Mystic Shot, extra burst build, so, you know, it's basically focused on barrels and trying to be efficient between, like, Crack Shot and Mystic Shot.
Sounds like we got a Holiday player amongst us.
I may or may not have been grinding a lot of Holiday in recent time, I'll be honest.
Holiday enjoyer. Okay, well, there's Ivy trying to get some farm up and recover a little bit from that rougher mid lane. And a lot of attention here. 3 versus 3, actually, for both sides in mid. And looking to take down this Guardian. Lotos might just lose this. Big pressure. That Guardian will certainly go down. Is there any cost, though, to come of that from Abrahams' side? Or do they manage to escape this situation? A quick swap there back into relative safety as the fight continues. And Lotos look like they might be in trouble here. Mina, very weak. So very weak. Gets finished off by Doorman. In comes Saint for that. And it's going to be ultimately a pretty good look here for Abrahams in the mid lane.
Also kind of rough for Lotos. I mean, Kakarzo, who has now just shortened their name down to Arzo, as it were. When you have that rough of an early game Mina, it's difficult to actually get things rolling from there on out. Mina, more so than most characters, is kind of reliant to be a lane bully, get ahead from that, and use that to sort of, you know, power things going on. So Mina falling behind, it's not the greatest omen for Arzo having a great mid-game and beyond on the character.
Wow, look at the pressure coming in here very quickly from Satan on the Doorman, looking to snipe this tower in the midst of 2 opponents. There's just the Baroness Hotel for one, trying to get through the door. That was like a 1-3-3 crazy escapade just to take down the tower there. Very interesting effort, and it's going to be Abrahams looking to try to respond here to try to help out Saint, although he's long gone. But not too much more to make of this. I think getting the Guardian was really all that was necessary, and you'll see ABL now falling back, able to farm up after getting some health restored at the fountain. And in the meantime, it seems like the action is more towards that right side lane where Jamsight is going to go down on that Infernus.
Yeah, you look at the overall game state here now, Dan. For Abrahams, they're actually pretty happy with things. They were the first to lose a Guardian, but now have equalized and then some. Still have 2 Guardians up of their own, have taken down all, or rather 2 of the 3 remaining Guardians here. Lotos just hanging on to the last one here on the right-hand side, and ABL over into the double vault room, able to punish Sai.
Yeah, this is not how this was supposed to go, ZP. There were 3 players there from Lotos looking for the invade, and somehow they've managed to, despite having greater numbers, fail in that area, and now at the same time they're losing the right side Guardian. So things going from bad to worse fairly quickly in the last minute for Lotos. As we see right now, ABL, starting to, have a pretty nice game here on the Calico. They've managed to find Pyro there. The flying strike goes forwards. There is a shadow form to try to escape this situation, but it's a 1v3, and I don't know if it's going to be able to get away from this. Still looking to juke using the jump pad there, and it seems like it will be all right because Viscus comes online as well. And so,
the chase down! He got the zipline knock. ABL chases down, finds Pyro. Pyro, I think, genuinely thought, okay, hit jump pad, I am gone. You don't expect the other player to just be wild enough to chase down in that situation. It doesn't happen all that often, but ABL, they had the bloodlust, Dan.
Yeah, and I was looking at the map and I'm like, okay, Viscus is going to be at the cube. It's actually going to be fine, but Viscus for the situation didn't need the attention of the cube. And here comes the potential punish, but is ABL going to be able to get more out of this situation? Looking for the movement, for the jukes there, the wall bounces, the mantle sliding, anything that is available to try to get out of there, but he is eventually punished. But you know what, CP, that was, all worth it. Even if it's like a net loss in some respects, I don't know if it was, but if it was, the spiritual win was there.
Yeah, I think Pyro coming back, though, getting her revenge kill, this is sort of a, okay, this is why you don't deep dive that much. However, action still happening, this time on the left. 3 here for Abrahams, more for Lotos, as you see Pyro, 16 HP in a dream. Looking to get out, going for the jump pad, and this time not going to hit the jump pad, and no extensive chase down required.
Yeah, so much action here for both sides, around these jungle positions. And it looks like Abrahams, though, overall are coming out ahead here, because if we take stock on the overall soul exchange, it is an 8k lead at 10 minutes here for Abrahams, and that's something going to not be feeling too good for Lotos. So they're going to be looking to lose more here. Is it Rayak or Rayash, ZP? How do you say Rayak?
I'm gonna go with Rayak. I don't know if we've ever gotten the word of God response in there, but forget this. Into the subway we go. Infernus, a little bit of dashing, concussive combustion, looking for Kakarzo, finds it. And this is where things have gotten really ugly for Lotos, is that you look at the map position. Abrahams still have 2 Guardians of their own. Lotos down all Guardians, and Abrahams has mentioned in the draft, they're just running a comp that's way better at skirmishing at this point in the game with ultimates, and they're using it to just continually invade here, Dan.
Yeah, and it's actually going so incredibly well. Saint getting someone trapped in the Baroness Hotel, and that's just going to be another setup piece. We talked about the setup pieces, there's so much of it, and Shadowform comes out to try to create the escape there, and it will actually enable Pyro to get out of there. But just like you said, CP, we might be seeing a comeback urn that's being run by Abrahams into enemy territory at the 10-minute urn. You never really see this. It's very rare to see a team be so confident to go for this.
Yeah, if anything, you control it, delay it so it doesn't get turned in by the other team. But no, in this case, they're just full going for it. Meanwhile, Lotos trying to trade maybe a Guardian for it at the same time. But the melee continuing here over on the urn turn-in. And Abrahams picking up the urn, getting the turn-in, and things are just going from bad to worse so far for Lotos.
Yeah, that is like the single worst omen for your game. If the 10-minute urn is getting turned in on your side of the map, that's not a good look. 12k difference, though, so it is somewhat stabilized at that 12k. That's kind of where it's been the last couple of minutes. So we'll see if Lotos are able to find their way back in at all. There is a 1v1 for Pyro, but in fact, maybe not too much of a 1v1 here, because look at how healthy Saf is. So Pyro is going to be able to escape using the jump pad. And Lotos back into their own jungle, trying to collect as much as they can at this time. 2.5 minutes until the next bridge buffs, and urn will spawn. And I think, ZP, there's a world where if Lotos can kind of get all the farm on their side of the map right now and just keep the waves somewhat even, there's a world where they can have a good team fight to make this more of a battle.
Yeah, I think to that point, the question for Lotos is, what does a pick look like? For Abrahams, it's pretty obvious where, between Swap, between Mo, even some of the setups that you have as Doorman, you have multiple options to open up a pick. Whereas for Lotos, realistically, you're looking to Rayak to land a lasso, land a setup as Holiday, and you don't have a bunch of other good options, or ideally maybe just a good Affliction from Cult. But right now, seeing Sai under a bit of pressure here, Dan, looking to shake it, and may just do that, but Abraham's continuing to be very aggressive in the Lotos' territory.
Yeah, unrelenting pressure is what we see from the European teams. It's one of the reasons why this region is so exciting to watch. In the fight, it presses forward there. No quarter given by Abrahams as they push on forwards. Taz able to take down Coffee, so that's a Viscous able to get taken out, and that's no cubes, no save now available for Lotos as we get a decent affliction catching a couple players, but is it too little too late at this time in the fight? It is now just a question of can you escape, and Jamside is just completely demolishing Quilt. So
well, yeah, the problem there, that's 11k affliction versus a now 20k Infernus. That's one of the worst feelings as a pocket player, though, where you get the affliction and the other person is just like, I don't care, your frogs do nothing to me, and they still just run you down anyways. But that's what happens again, where Jamside just been able to eat the jungle and now has just such a wide gap stand on the rest of Lotos.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And Pyro, you know, again, it's unfortunate because Pyro's not really being able to have too much luck either for this similar reason. Just, you know, so many skirmishes, and then when Pyro's trying to find fights, it just, you know, I think we saw, for example, there was that 3v1, I think, against ABL when ABL was doing the double sinners on ABL's side of the map, and somehow Lotos were losing players there whilst they were losing a Guardian elsewhere. You know, that kind of stuff is not good, and it's like ABL now with the confidence of an Emperor is strutting around the map.
I'd see an Emperor having one of the cats that Ava is. I forget the exact name of the breed, but you know, it's like one of the more regal, like hairless cats. It's like it kind of checks out. Also, you know what else checks out? And we haven't really talked too much about, but item-wise, items that are getting picked almost universally right now. There's a lot of spirit shielding being built right now, Dan, across both teams.
Yeah, spirit shielding is a really good item. It's that's something that I think has come into a lot of people's builds for the laning phase, especially to try to keep your survivability up, which is cool. You know, we've seen variations of that over the course of Deadlock. You know, reactive barrier was of course something that we saw for that same purpose for a long time.
Again, not much of a contest here together. Just able to walk in on the Aaron Ray. It gets caught out once more, so you know, next half minute, not going to be much in terms of pick potential, and you're up so much here as Abrahams that I do wonder if they hit the point here, Dan, where they decide, you know what, we're just going to go mid. Because they're just about the point lead-wise where they can shove lanes, go mid, and kind of dare Lotos to do something about it.
Yeah, and Jamside is certainly at a spot where he can be very effective at bringing the mid boss down very quickly. Oh, hello. Okay. Oh, no. Just delaying this one out. Can we escape?
It's a possibility, but you have to use Stone Form at the very end. And you get swapped off the jump pad just when you think you're out. You're right back in.
Oh, man. Sai did everything. He did everything he could. There's only so much he can do.
It was criminal, man. That was actually just a crime on the streets of New York.
Well, they do say crime doesn't pay. But isn't the point of crime that it pays? I thought that's the reason people do it.
Generally speaking, yeah. I mean, unless you just like, it's either paying you in financial goods or paying you in emotional goods if you're just harming someone out of impulse, I suppose. But either way, you're getting some form of payment, you know, one way or the other. Also, disclaimer, especially as we are sponsored, people watching, please do not do crime. We do not endorse crime. Nope.
I don't even know what to say about that.
just go with the tagline.
Alright, okay, yeah, don't do crime and be, you know, stay in school and stuff. Become educated. Become a member of your relevant aristocracy. There you go.
Well,
aristocratic class.
All the old Super Nintendo games, arcade games in the 90s had the, like, by default, like, they had to put in a message of saying don't do drugs with, like, the FBI logo. That was the thing. I don't know what law caused that, but it was like the winners don't do drugs campaign.
That reminds me of back in the super old days, like I'm talking mid, early 2000s, there was this anti-piracy ad that was going around television. and it just made piracy seem really cool. And so, so like they actually made you like elevated your profile if you did piracy. So I don't know.
Are you talking about that you wouldn't download a car? It's just like, well, actually, now that you talk about it, cars are kind of expensive. I probably would download a car.
Yeah, they just, it's kind of, it's come a long way since then. People kind of understand how to do these things a bit better these days. But there's that mid boss you're talking about. It's finally happening with that, in excess of 30k lead.
Yeah, and there's not much to be done here. On the other hand, for Lotos, you still want to try to contest, maybe get one charge off, and instead, Abrahams will just make the mid boss scream and then go for the chase down. You get 1 or 2 picks off the chase down, you go back, finish mid boss, and go from there. And Lotos right now is scrambling to get away. They were hoping to just kind of charge in, get a charge. Instead, Abrahams takes the opportunity to go back out. They pick off both Psy and Cult. And now, Dan, they're going to go back in for a significantly less contested mid boss.
There we go. All right, well, there's a rejuve falling from the skies. There we go. I mean, speaking of crime, Mo and Krill definitely got that. It's got that organized crime vibe, which is really fun. It's on theme.
Kind of lore accurate too. I mean, the reason why Mo is building tunnels, I mean, you're not transporting necessarily legal things through the tunnels. Like if you're transporting legal things, you do it on the roads. Like there's perfectly good roads, but they're using the tunnels, which Mo apparently makes quite well. As also in danger, Rayek just surrounded by enemies, sitting here in the tiny creep camp here, Dan, wondering when it will be free to go away, and now goes to the zip. Potentially free. Does Mirage have it? No, Mirage does not have it.
Mo, prophesying from the Prohibition game, looking to jump out of the shadows for a quick combo. Little setup. Got a lot of teammates nearby too, so they are just looking for that next pick to really just... I mean, they don't even need a pick at this point. In fact, they can force the fight here. They're looking for, again, an aggressive turn in against the enemy territory, so that should force the fight.
You think you got the lasso coming on in. This would be one rejuve charge if they're able to finish it. They do. Now we'll see if there's fall through immediately thereafter. Lotos looking for anything to change things. And once more, Hy-Vee just getting all expense paid trip back into the Baroness. Rough times here for Psy. This time, though, doesn't have a welcoming committee. Abrahams, though, still in control of the urn, able to find Coffin towards the end, and down 2 is Lotos, potentially heading towards the end here, Dan.
It is looking that way. Another urn turn in. Jamstar with a 12 kill streak, melting the walkers, and 2 rejuve charges available. So, yeah, looking like they are working on that one. Pyro causing some problems towards the left side, but I don't know how much Abrahams care about this. Trying to get these...
They're in a really good spot, Dan, and also, I mean, to talk about allocation, they've been ahead for a while, but also, Jamside is 34k in Furnace level ahead. The most farm for Lotos is a 20k Yamada, or sorry, a 27k Mina. It's just not quite the same thing. And it just makes the win conditions for Lotos so incredibly narrow at the moment.
I have to say, I'm actually impressed that Arze has managed to farm up that much. Did just pick up Spirit Burn as well, which is definitely somewhat of a power spike item, although, power spike needs to be weighed relative to what your opposing team has, and obviously, that makes it not too much of a power spike at this point, but should still be good for some damage output. Although they're getting caught there with the swap into Mo combo. Again, these setup pieces are real strong for Abrahams at the moment.
I guess I can.
Also, can we talk about just the ascended level of Paradox, where, yeah, anyone Paradox-wise can go Carbine into ult, but TAS a lot of the times just rips the raw swap. Whether or not it's needed or not, just goes, yeah, okay, you're going up there throughout the swap. Like the last time where Ivy tried to hit the jump pad and still got caught in the end. And these also, Dan, this has been a lot of mid-air Baroness hits here from Sane.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I respect it. Sending them to the hotel, got to get that business in. It's hard times. It's the off season.
Well, either way, I mean, it's kind of interesting. He's not only the doorman, but he's also in charge of customer retention, or getting people to actually visit the hotel. The hotel's nowhere near him.
Procurement.
He's just inviting people in.
That's true. He deserves a raise. I don't know what he's getting paid. You should probably pay him more. With that said, it does not look like Lotos are going to have a chance to get paid anything today. It looks like Abraham's well and truly onto that money match here as they finish off the base. Poor Pyro. I just kind of feel bad. I just feel bad for all of the guys on Lotos because they just never got rolling here, and so it just feels like they're getting bullied in all these fights.
It's a little bit tough. I mean, also for Lotos, presumably they're still trying to work around the loss of Sanya, where we didn't really talk about too much, but the roster change. Cult is their new pickup because Sanya went to go join the, effectively the new one-win team. It's not one-win, but they're called Mel Team, and they were supposed to play today, but they had a player that couldn't play today, as it were. But it's in response to the new Trolley tournament coming next week, and man, oh man, just the stat difference is too much here, Dan. Like the fight just completely unwinnable for Lotos, and Abrahams now just get to walk forward and the patron.
Man, now you say it's Colt. I was saying Quilt all this time. You said nothing. You didn't. You gotta warn it. You gotta warn me.
Oh, actually, that's just my take on it. You could also be right. I just looked at it as like, oh, it's Colt.
You're probably right. I like yours better.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Are you guys sure it's not Quit? Is that an I?
Oh my God.
Chat, is that a Quit or a Cult? What is it?
Oh my goodness. ZP, what do we do about this?
We've awoken Puckett. I mean, honestly, we never did the official asking for pronunciation in this instance, so really the only thing we could do would be the ask for pronunciation. Also, in terms of proper housekeeping here, Dan, this is a 50k lead at the moment. Abraham's just securing it officially, but Lotos is well and truly out of options, barring the biggest throw ever from Abraham's.
Yeah, that's not going to be happening, I don't think. Abrahams. It's crazy. I mean, there hasn't really been a point in this game where maybe I think it was even at about 5 minutes where we had the simultaneous walkers guardians going down for either side. But we have had like 3 or 4 urns turned in from Abrahams in Lotos's territory. From the 10-minute urn, which really just tells you that it's always been the case that Lotos are behind. And not just that they've been behind, but they've been unable to, at that point in the game, defend the urn turn-in, which is also kind of insane. So just tells you the entire story almost.
Also, we got a comment from Chris Puckett, occasional host of the show. And by occasional, I mean generally on, but, keeping the theme here, quote, DDK is my favorite pro-crime caster.
These are some of the best I'm finding on YouTube. This is Milk God 6000 once again. He's a big DDK fan.
Nice. I love Milk. Big fan.
The Silence Wave coming in. Fall best slowing Hex. Pyro's had enough of the CC. Shadow Transformation is out. Cube in response to the combo is Lotos making their last stand here. But guess what? You got Jamside, who did not name himself Jamside, but is still able to go in on a 44k ridiculously overfarmed Furnace. HP bar not moving a whole lot as the damage gets poured on in.
That's too much fun for Jamside right now. The hunts on Tamina. I mean, it's pretty slippery, but I don't know. There's 4 players surrounding Mina at the moment. Both Sanguine Retreats have been utilized. Although obviously at this time of the game you would expect those cooldowns to refresh pretty quick. But another 5 seconds, there's the E shift there to try to get that Sanguine up for another attempt at an escape. Oh, but we get silenced, I think, there. Unable to get that Sanguine off, and it's going to be the rest of the base demolished here. You'll have a just brief appearance from Sai, but looks like we're going for this patron here to lock it in. Abrahams are looking to face up against Buff Enjoyers in our finals, our money match here. Once again at Night Shift.
Impressive stuff coming out from Abraham, showing that they are absolutely locked in here today, ready for yet another round versus Buff Enjoyers. And, Puckett, this was a more one-sided affair than we've seen for a while in the Challenger match here in EU.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm starting to think we should have a welterweight matchup and then the heavyweight matchup every week. Just give Abrahams an auto entry to the grand finals. They have won multiple times here on the night shift, and they're showing you why. Who was the most impressive player, though? It looked like Jamside was fed as hell. ABL had some fantastic stats. DDK, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but can you give me an early prediction into who you think was playing MVP caliber?
I mean, it's hard not to say Jamside just because of the sheer impact there. I think I liked ABL's performance in the game. I respected some of the deep dives and just the shenanigans on the Calico as well. But maybe you can make an argument for Saint. As you said, ZP, all those mid-air Baroness visits. So I don't know, but I would have to say, Jamside if I was under threat of violence, I would pick Jamside.
I think
we're
for
going to be taking a look. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm down for ABL in this instance just because I think seeing Calico prioritize more and more has been interesting, and it was pretty good Calico play, even if a little bit ridiculous on that one dive, which, thankfully did get punished.
My sunglasses and hat were stolen by a toddler, but I did find a gold chain for my boy Mikey Rach in the chat. Welcome back, Mikey. However you want GDK to dress up, we have the Halloween episode around the corner. More importantly, people on YouTube are wondering, when is the $10,000 tournament? ZP, it's happening in like 4 days, right?
That's right. For North America, it starts this weekend. Qualifier day is going to be on Friday. That will not be broadcasted, but all the results will be known on Saturday and Sunday, where we're going to be broadcasting all weekend long for Trolley in North America. One of the biggest tournaments North America has ever had in Deadlock. I think it actually is the biggest North American tournament. I think the record before was the SSG tournament last year at 5K. So biggest North American tournament ever, and then
biggest,
also
best
combined.
Best biggest looking, period. Coolest casters, greatest players, most attractive in-game characters. Let's take a look at the cat. Meow! Crushing it. ABL chasing down the sticky one. But who had the best play of the game? Was there like one standout performer, ZP, or one highlight that you would put in ZP's top 10?
Overall, highlight-wise, look, I'll give a little bit to Saint. A little bit to Saint and a little bit to Taz. Saint for just going for mid-air hotel guests repeatedly for whatever reason. I mean, hey, it was what was available. But also Taz for just all the raw swaps coming up here, going no carbine, no problem. You're on a jump pad. I know that trajectory. I'm going to swap you, get on back here. Dude, this entire sequence of highlights, by the way, is so rough, where Ivy just wanted to get away, goes up, hits a jump pad, gets swapped. It just miserable time for
Welcome
Ivy.
back into comp, Ivy. Yeah, you're going to have a bad time. Get over here. Old school Scorpion style. You'll love to see it. DDK, give me some highlight clips. I'm going to put it on TikTok.
What do you mean? You want me to make a highlight?
Go. Yeah. Play over these highlights.
I already did that. You asked me. I'd only get paid once here, Pocket. What were you doing?
It's true. It's like double jeopardy. Diddy is never going to jail for the amount of time he should, ladies and gentlemen. But the Abrahams are moving forward into your EU finals. It's not controversial. It's not even political. I know we have a sponsored show on our hands here, presented by Intel, by the way. But we are getting into the meat of it with Buff Enjoyers taking on Abrahams. It's a best of 3 coming up next. DDK, do we get a game 3 based on what you've seen from the Abrahams early?
Yeah, it's always possible between these two sides. A lot of it comes down to just the draft, obviously, which we'll be going into shortly, and I think that's going to inform us, but I think it's likely.
And of course, we got to highlight one individual from the Abrahams. ZP officially made his prediction in the chat. TDK made his pick as well. Do the observers agree? Everybody loves the cat. ABL, your player of the match. Let's take a look at the Calico. What does ABL bring to this game? Because I've been told he's got some good aim. He's got some big numbers next to his name. What does he do with the cat lady?
I mean, just goes incredibly aggressive at punishing opportunities and finding ways to get out alive in most cases that most people are like, wait, how in the world did you do that? But that's what Calico does as a hero right now. Calico pushes limits and sort of invades zones that you think you might otherwise be safe in. And it's kind of a good mesh with ABL style. Again, this is part of it here where if you're a pyro, you don't expect ABL to chase that down. ABL gets punished for it, but it's the mentality you got to have. Also, totally random thought, but Calico is going to go wild as soon as skins come into the game, and you can buy skins for Ava. Like, it's gonna be everywhere. That's what I
like
think.
just match your cat in game with what you got at home. That is going to do it for game number 1. We have a best of 3 around the corner. Shout out to the amazing observing team, and Knock always gets left out. So Knock, here's your special shout out on the way to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have Lotos out of the action, but Abrahams take the main stage to take on Buff Enjoyers. It's week 10. It's time for their 4th win, right, ZP?
Maybe not. Right now, it would say it's due for Abrahams to come on in, because what usually happens in the eve of a big tournament is that Buff and Joros will go on a slump. They'll start losing on things like Night Shift, and then they'll pull it together at the very end. So if you read the tea leaves, if you're a student of history, I think Abrahams may take it here tonight.
DDK, final thoughts on match number 1 while we get this break ready.
My final thought is let's go to break, Pocket. Let's do it.
Break time. Find some shades. We'll see you in a second.